Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Monday, October 26, 2020. Fox report. Feeding Houston's hungry, 1 pounds of food daily for needy. Houston, in car lines that can stretch half a mile, 0.8 kilometers, workers who lost jobs because of the coronavirus pandemic and other needy people receive staggering amounts of food distributed by the Houston Food Bank. On some days, the hundreds of sites supplied by the country's largest food bank collectively get £1 million. Among the ranks of recipients is unemployed construction worker Herman Henton, whose wife is a home improvement store worker and now the sole breadwinner for their family of 5.
CNN report. Hopefully our dream is not broken. Asian American businesses hit especially hard during pandemic. Cam Vong laid off 10 of his 15 employees when he was forced to temporarily close his Chinese restaurant in March. When he reopened for exclusive takeout service in mid-April, virtually no one was even willing to order food from his business. My God, the business dropped 98%. It was minimal in the beginning. It did kind of scare us, the Georgia business owner recalls. How can we survive if it keeps continuing like this?
Al Jazeera report. Tanzania presidential election. Who are the main candidates? Mainland Tanzania and the semi-autonomous Zanzibar are due to hold elections for president, legislators and local officials on Wednesday. Incumbent President John Magufuli is seeking re-election on the mainland among a crowded field of 15 contenders. He is the candidate of the Chama cha Mapinduzi (CCM) party, which has uninterruptedly governed Tanzania, along with its predecessor, the Tanzania African National Union Party (TANU), since independence in 1961.
Deutsche Welle report. Exclusive. EU taps Chinese technology linked to Muslim internment camps in Xinjiang. 2 EU institutions are using technology produced by China's Hikvision, a firm that has been accused of providing surveillance equipment to Muslim internment camps in the country's northwest Xinjiang province. Hikvision describes itself as the world's leading video surveillance products supplier. The Chinese tech giant has its European base in the Netherlands and has not been subject to any EU sanctions or blacklist measures.
Fox report. Mississippi judge fatally stabbed by son, who was killed by police, cops say. A Mississippi judge was allegedly stabbed to death last week by her son, who was killed when he charged at police officers with a knife, authorities said. Jackson County Justice Court Judge Sheila Osgood was found dead in her Moss Point home on October 21 when responding officers were performing a welfare check, the Moss Point Police Department said in a statement. The officers initially arrived at the home around 11:30 a.m.
CNN report. Toy companies are cutting back on plastic to reduce waste. Many large toy companies are trying to become more eco-friendly after decades of relying on environmentally destructive plastic in their products and packaging. The pandemic has created an unanticipated surge in demand for toys as parents have hunkered down with children at home, and holiday toy sales are expected to be huge this year. Finding alternatives to plastic is crucial to tackling climate change.
Fox report. Store apologizes for not allowing women to buy non-essential sanitary products. A UK supermarket chain has come under fire after a woman complained she was told she couldn't buy sanitary pads in Wales due to a ban on selling non-essential items during the coronavirus lockdown. According to reports, at Tesco, can you explain why I was told today that I can't buy period pads as I'm sure they are essential to women? But I can buy alcohol, it doesn't make sense, the enraged shopper posted on Twitter as Katie.
BBC report. Poland abortion ruling. Protesters block roads across country. In the capital Warsaw, protesters blocked the main intersections, stopping cars and trams for about an hour. Some carried placards with slogans like, "I wish I could abort my government." The protests are considered unusual in a country where the Roman Catholic Church has great influence. They follow a ruling by Poland's constitutional court that ending the life of a deformed fetus is unconstitutional.
Deutsche Welle report. WTO clears EU request for tariffs on US over Boeing. The World Trade Organization's WTO dispute settlement body DSB on Monday gave approval to European Union EU retaliatory tariffs on $4 billion €3.4 billion worth of US goods in response to US subsidies for airplane manufacturer Boeing. The EU had sought $8.6 million in tariffs, in response to tariffs imposed by the US tied to European Airbus subsidies last year. The EU sanctions were originally approved by a WTO auditor on October 13, but needed approval from the trade body's 164 member states.
Fox report: Man in California climbed to top of Belmont Park roller coaster, threatened to jump. Reports: A man in California climbed to the top of a closed San Diego roller coaster and threatened to jump from its highest point before he was rescued hours later, according to multiple reports. The man went into Mission Beach's Belmont Park and made his way over a fence for the Giant Dipper, which was closed due to the pandemic, before climbing to the top of the estimated 70-foot-tall wooden attraction around 1:30 p.m.
CNN report: Search resumes for university professor who went missing after hiking in Mount Rainier National Park. Rescue teams resumed their search on Sunday for a University of Washington professor who recently went missing during a hiking trip. Sam Duvall, 33, left for Mount Rainier National Park on October 9 and was supposed to return the next day. He was reported missing on October 12 after he didn't come home, and rescue teams have been trying to find him since. For the first 9 days, a group including park rangers, volunteer hikers and helicopter crews from the National Park Service and U.S. Air Force searched for Duvall on the ground and by air.
Deutsche Welle report: Women's rights groups pledge further protests over Poland's abortion law. Women's rights activists in Poland on Monday announced further demonstrations throughout the week to protest a Supreme Court decision to tighten an already strict abortion law in the predominantly Catholic country. Protesters in almost 50 cities and towns plan to block traffic later on Monday with cars, bikes, or by just walking, according to the women's strike group. Marta Lempart, head of the group, said there would also be a strike on Wednesday and a protest march on Friday in the capital Warsaw, the seat of the government, the Constitutional Court and the headquarters of the ruling right-wing Law and Justice Party that brought the case to court.
BBC report: Why Nigerian looters are targeting COVID-19 aid. The raid in Gwagwalada, on the outskirts of the city, is the latest incident in the wave of unrest sparked by anti-police brutality protests. Looters carted away bags of rice, noodles and sugar among other items. The authorities have denied that the items were being hoarded so they could be shared with family and friends. State governors have said the items were kept for vulnerable members of society and in preparation for a possible second wave of coronavirus infections.
CNN report: Fact check: Misleading new Trump ad claims Biden plans to end fracking. Less than 2 weeks before Election Day, a new Trump campaign ad scheduled to air in Pennsylvania misleadingly portrays former Vice President Joe Biden's stance on fracking, a drilling method used to extract oil or natural gas. Interspersed with a testimonial from a fracking technician, the ad claims Biden will end fracking, and features among others a tightly cut clip of him saying, "No new fracking."
Al Jazeera report: Inquiry probes shooting of Lagos protesters, police abuses. Abuja, Nigeria: A judicial panel investigating police brutality in Nigeria and the recent shooting of unarmed protesters in the country's financial hub of Lagos has convened for the first time, as demands for accountability grow. The establishment of an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reported cases of police misconduct has been one of the main demands of peaceful demonstrators who this month took to the streets across Nigeria to protest against police violence and call for sweeping reforms.
Al Jazeera report: Israeli museum postpones sale of Islamic antiquities amid outrage. A museum in Israel has postponed its planned auction of dozens of rare Islamic antiquities, including centuries-old carpets, armaments and ceramics from across the Middle East after word of the sale sparked outrage. The LA Mayer Museum for Islamic Art in Jerusalem had planned to put 190 pieces on the block at British auction house Sotheby's on Tuesday and to auction off more than 60 antique watches and timepieces later this week.
BBC report: COVID, Melbourne's hard-won success after a marathon lockdown. In early July, the nights were long and dark, and Australia's cultural capital was confronting the terrifying reality of another deadly wave of infections. More than 110 days later, experts say it is emerging as a world leader in disease suppression alongside places including Singapore, Vietnam, South Korea, New Zealand and Hong Kong. Raina McIntyre, a biosecurity professor at the University of New South Wales's Kirby Institute, told the BBC that Australia's response had been light years ahead of the US and the UK.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.